Jimmy Butler's only played 4 games with the Warriors, but he's already making a massive difference. This isn't some slow adjustment period where he's figuring things out. He stepped in and immediately put up big-time numbers. He's averaging over 21 points, 7 rebounds, and more than 5 assists while shooting nearly 58% true shooting. That's efficiency and production at an elite level, and the results speak for themselves. Golden State's won 3 of those 4 games. And it's not just because Butler's scoring. His entire presence is reshaping the way this team plays on both ends of the floor. Before Butler got there, the Warriors were living and dying by the three-pointer. They took an absurd number of threes and made a lot of them, but their offense lacked variety. When shots weren't falling, they had no real plan B. Now, that's completely changed. They're still launching deep shots. They take the 3rd most in the league and make the 4th most, but they're no longer completely dependent on them. Butler's arrival has given them something they badly needed, a way to generate points without chucking up threes all night. The biggest difference? Free throws. The Warriors, for years, haven't been known for getting to the line, but in just 4 games with Butler, they've attempted 110 free throws and made 92. That's a ridiculous 83.6% accuracy from the stripe. Those numbers are unheard of for this team. Butler's ability to draw contact, attack the rim, and force defenses to react has completely changed the way Golden State operates. He's getting defenders in foul trouble, slowing the game down when necessary, and making sure the Warriors don't go through long stretches without scoring. And it's not just offense. His presence on defense has been just as impactful. In these 4 games, the Warriors have racked up some crazy steal numbers: 8, 16, 9, and 13. That's hustle. That's energy. That's disruption. Opposing teams aren't getting comfortable, and that's exactly what the Warriors needed. Butler's defensive mindset has spread throughout the team, and nobody's benefiting more than Draymond Green. Green's been an absolute force since Butler got there. He's playing with even more energy, constantly talking on the court, and making plays all over the floor. He's racked up 13 steals and 25 assists in just 4 games, and is a cumulative plus 36 in those minutes. And it's not just stats. Green and Butler are constantly coaching each other up, adjusting on the fly, and keeping the team locked in. Their chemistry is already noticeable, and they're feeding off each other's intensity every single possession. And then there's Curry. He's always been great, but with Butler in the lineup, he's taken his game to another level. He's averaging 31 points, 5 rebounds, and over 5 assists in these 4 games, while shooting nearly 40% from deep. The best part? He's not having to do everything by himself anymore. With Butler on the floor, Curry can move off the ball more, get better looks, and conserve energy when needed. And it's showing in the numbers. He's a cumulative plus 42 since Butler arrived, meaning the Warriors are absolutely dominating when he's out there. Butler's already cementing his place in Warriors history too. He became just the 3rd player in franchise history to score at least 20 points in each of his first 3 games with the team, joining Kevin Durant and Wilt Chamberlain. That's legendary company. And he was 1 point shy of making it 4 straight, finishing with 19 in his last outing. But the real story is his ability to get to the line. In his first 2 games alone, he shot 28 free throws, the most a Warriors player has taken in back-to-back games since Durant in 2018. That's exactly what this team was missing. Golden State needed a player like Butler. They needed someone who could do the dirty work, someone who could generate offense without chucking up threes, someone who could bring toughness and a defensive edge. And he's doing all of that. The proof is in the numbers. Since Butler arrived, the Warriors are averaging 117.3 points per game, which would put them ahead of Boston for the season. That's elite offensive production, and it's happening because Butler is giving them a new dimension they didn't have before. And look at what's happened to Miami since he left. They haven't won a single game. That's not a shot at the Heat, but it's a clear sign of just how valuable Butler is. He was holding that team together, making everything work, and now that he's gone, they're struggling to find their footing. Meanwhile, the Warriors are thriving. The craziest part? Butler's still working his way back into peak shape. This isn't even his final form. He's already putting up these numbers and changing the way the Warriors play, but he's only going to get better as he gets more comfortable. His impact is undeniable, and with every game, it's becoming more obvious that Golden State made the perfect move at the perfect time. And let's not forget about the playoffs. That's where Butler truly becomes a different beast. If this is what he's doing in the regular season while still adjusting, just imagine what's coming when the games really start to matter. The Warriors didn't just add another star, they added a game changer. And based on everything we've seen so far, the best is still ahead. And I think when you check out the advanced stats, that's when you truly will see the impact Butler will have on this team. We'll start with scoring. Butler's putting up nearly 18 points per game, scoring more than 87% of players, while posting an elite 62% true shooting percentage. That's absurd efficiency. He's getting over 1.2 points per scoring attempt, which means every time he shoots or gets fouled, it's a highly productive possession. But what really makes him dangerous is how he gets those points. He's only taking 11 shots per game, but he's getting to the free throw line nearly 7 times. That's game-changing. Now pair that with Curry. He's putting up over 23 points per game, scoring more than 94% of players, and doing it with nearly 60% true shooting. He takes 18 shots per game, but his ability to stretch the floor and hit tough threes forces defenses to play up on him. That's exactly where Butler comes in. Defenders can't just focus on Curry anymore. They have to worry about Butler's physicality, his ability to attack the rim, and his efficiency inside. Butler is scoring over 1.1 points per field goal attempt, and that's without having to rely on three-pointers. When he gets into the paint, he's either finishing or getting fouled. That's already enough to make the Warriors more dangerous, but then there's JK. He's scoring nearly 17 points per game, ranking higher than 85% of the league. He's taking more than 13 shots per game and making nearly 5 two-pointers per contest, but his efficiency isn't as high as Butler's or Curry's. His true shooting percentage sits at 53%, which is still solid, but what makes him valuable is how he plays off Butler, with Butler constantly forcing help. Defenders into the paint, JK's getting easier looks. He doesn't have to create everything himself anymore, and that's massive for a young player who thrives in transition and offcuts to the basket. And then there's Hield. He's putting up nearly 12 points per game while shooting a 54% true shooting percentage, which is better than more than 73% of players. He takes 10 shots per game, with most of them coming from beyond the arc. And now, he's playing next to 2 elite creators in Butler and Curry. That means more catch and shoot threes, more open looks, and way less defensive pressure. Hield's already one of the league's best shooters, but with Butler drawing defenses in, he's about to get even deadlier. Pods is another piece that fits perfectly into this system. He's scoring nearly 10 points per game while ranking higher than 64% of players. His true shooting percentage sits at 53%, and he's getting over 1.1 points per scoring attempt. What makes him so valuable is his ability to play multiple roles. When Butler and Curry are handling the ball, Pods can space the floor. When Curry is off the floor, he can act as a secondary creator. That flexibility allows the Warriors to keep their offense flowing no matter who's on the floor. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Butler in Golden State. Then there's Green. He's only scoring a little over 8 points per game, but his true shooting percentage still ranks higher than more than half the league. The biggest reason his scoring matters is because of how he works with Butler. Green doesn't need to score to be effective. He sets screens, moves the ball, and creates plays for others. And now, he has Butler next to him, another high IQ player who understands spacing, passing angles, and how to manipulate defenses. Those two together are making the Warriors' offense more unpredictable than ever. This team isn't just relying on the three-pointer anymore. Before Butler arrived, the Warriors took more threes than almost anyone in the league, but they were too dependent on them. Now, they have balance. They can attack inside with Butler, they can create mid-range offense with Curry, they can use JK's athleticism to finish around the rim, and they still have elite shooters in Curry, Hield, and Pods. But then we can do the same for ball handling. Butler ranks higher than 93% of players, and that skill set is exactly why he's making Golden State's offense so much more efficient. He's not just another scorer, he's a creator, a stabilizer, and a player who keeps the team's offensive flow steady without sacrificing control. He's averaging nearly 5 assists per game, while assisting on more than 24% of his teammates' buckets when he's on the floor. That's a massive boost for a Warriors team that already had strong playmakers, but needed someone who could create offense while limiting mistakes. That's where Butler separates himself. His turnover percentage is insanely low, sitting at just under 6%, which is better than 90% of the league. That means for every 100 possessions where he either takes a shot or turns the ball over, he only makes a mistake about 6 times. Compare that to Curry, who has a turnover percentage over 10%, and Green, whose turnover rate is all the way up at 15%. Butler's ball security is a game changer. He's constantly making the right reads, keeping the ball moving, and never forcing plays that aren't there. Golden State has always relied on Curry to handle a massive offensive workload. He ranks higher than 94% of players in ball handling and is averaging over 6 assists per game while assisting on nearly 28% of his teammates' buckets. But his turnover percentage sits at over 10%, meaning he's more prone to giveaways than Butler. That's not a knock on Curry. He's taking more shots and dealing with more defensive pressure than almost anyone. But it does mean that having another elite ball handler next to him makes life easier. Butler allows Curry to play off the ball more, reducing the number of times he has to create everything himself. That means fewer forced passes, better shot opportunities, and ultimately, a much smoother offense. Then there's Pods, another key playmaker who fits perfectly next to Butler. He ranks higher than 84% of players in ball handling and is assisting on more than 20% of his teammates' made shots. He's averaging over 3 assists per game, while keeping his turnover percentage under 8%, which is better than 75% of the league. That makes him another steady option who can take some of the ball handling responsibilities off Curry's plate, while also complementing Butler's ability to create offense. When those three are on the floor together, the Warriors have multiple players who can initiate the offense, keep the ball moving, and minimize wasted possession. Green's role in this system is different, but it's still heavily influenced by Butler's presence. Green ranks higher than 93% of players in ball handling and is averaging nearly 6 assists per game, while assisting on over 25% of Golden State's baskets. But unlike Butler, his turnover percentage is a major issue, sitting at over 15%, one of the highest among playmakers in the league. That's where Butler's efficiency makes a difference. With another high-level passer and decision-maker on the floor, Green doesn't have to take as many risks. He can focus on setting screens, making the simple passes, and letting Butler handle more of the playmaking responsibilities in key moments. That keeps Green's turnovers down and allows him to be more effective without forcing plays that lead to mistakes. Butler's impact on this team isn't just about scoring, it's about control. He's assisting on nearly 13 points per game while only turning the ball over a little over once per contest. That kind of efficiency is rare, and it's exactly what Golden State needed. Before Butler arrived, the Warriors relied heavily on Curry and Green to generate offense. Now they've got someone who can keep the team in rhythm, make the right plays, and create opportunities without racking up unnecessary mistakes. But then I want to look at defense. Jimmy Butler's impact on defense isn't just about individual stops. It's about elevating the entire team's ability to prevent scoring. His mixed team defense ranking sits higher than 51% of players, meaning he's right in the middle of the pack. But his role, alongside Curry, JK, Pods, Green, and Looney, makes him even more valuable. He's putting up over 1 steal per game, nearly half a block, and grabbing 3 defensive rebounds per contest. But the real key? He's helping solidify a defensive unit that has both high IQ defenders and athletic stoppers, creating a more balanced system that can handle different matchups. Curry, for all his offensive brilliance, actually holds his own on defense better than most people realize. His mixed team defense ranking is higher than 63% of players, showing that he's an above-average defender when looking at both individual stops and overall team impact. He's swiping 1 steal per game, blocking half a shot, and pulling down 4 defensive rebounds. His team defensive efficiency sits at 115.3, which isn't elite, but it's respectable, considering the defensive attention he attracts on offense. With Butler on the floor, Curry has more help, meaning he doesn't have to work as hard to cover defensive rotations, allowing him to stay fresher for the offensive side. Then there's JK, who ranks higher than 85% of players in mixed team defense. He's a massive part of Golden State's defensive structure, with nearly 1 steal per game, over half a block, and grabbing nearly 4 defensive rebounds. But the real standout number, his team defensive efficiency is 110, one of the best among Warriors rotation players. That means when he's on the floor, the team is significantly better at preventing points. Butler's presence makes this even more effective because his physicality allows JK to roam more, using his athleticism to contest shots, switch onto different matchups, and disrupt offensive sets. Pods is another major piece in Golden State's defensive puzzle. His mixed team defense ranking is higher than 93% of players, making him one of the most effective team defenders in the entire league. He's averaging over 1 steal per game, contesting shots despite limited blocks, and pulling down nearly 4 defensive rebounds. But the most telling stat, his team defensive efficiency is 107.2, the best mark among any key Warriors player. That means when he's on the floor, the team is giving up fewer points than with anyone else. Pairing him with Butler only enhances this, as both players have strong defensive instincts, knowing when to press, when to sag off, and when to force turnovers. Then there's Green, the anchor of the Warriors' defense. He ranks higher than 90% of players in mixed team defense, and it's easy to see why. He's averaging over 1 steal, 1 block, and nearly 5 defensive rebounds per game. His team defensive efficiency is 111.8, and while that number isn't as elite as Pods', it reflects his role as a help defender, covering for teammates and making sure the unit stays connected. Green and Butler on the floor together give Golden State 2 of the highest IQ defenders in the game, allowing them to control defensive matchups, communicate on switches, and keep opposing teams uncomfortable. Looney is another defensive cornerstone, ranking just as high as Green in mixed team defense at 90%. He's pulling down 4 defensive rebounds per game, swiping nearly 1 steal, and blocking shots at the same rate as Butler. But what stands out most is his team defensive efficiency of 109.3, meaning when he's on the floor, Golden State is giving up fewer points per possession. With Butler in the lineup, Looney's job becomes even easier as Butler takes on more perimeter defensive assignments, allowing Looney to focus on protecting the rim, controlling the glass, and preventing easy buckets inside. Butler's defensive numbers might not jump off the page, but his presence balances everything out. He allows Curry to exert less energy on defense. He gives JK more freedom to be an athletic disruptor. He enhances Pods' team defense, making an already strong unit even stronger. He provides another defensive mind for Green to work with, keeping the team disciplined, and he helps Looney stay focused on interior protection rather than chasing perimeter threats. The Warriors have always relied on a team-based defensive system rather than one dominant stopper, and Butler fits that model perfectly. He's versatile, he's disciplined, and he understands how to play within the team structure. The numbers show that Golden State's defensive ceiling is rising with Butler in the mix, and as the chemistry builds, this unit is only going to get better. Butler's presence isn't just helping the Warriors score, it's making them significantly harder to score against. But then I want to look at a huge factor: rebounding. Jimmy Butler's rebounding ability is one of the most overlooked aspects of his game, but it's already making a massive impact on the Warriors. He's pulling down 5.5 rebounds per game, ranking higher than 64% of players. But what separates him from most wings is his dominance on the offensive glass. He's grabbing 2.5 offensive rebounds per contest, which puts him ahead of more than 83% of players in offensive rebounding percentage. That's a major advantage for a Warriors team that's historically relied on shooting efficiency rather than second chance opportunities. With Butler in the mix, Golden State now has a player who actively creates extra possessions, extending plays, and giving the team even more chances to capitalize on their high-powered offense. That's especially important considering Curry's rebounding profile. For a guard, he's solid on the boards, averaging nearly 5 rebounds per game and ranking higher than 45% of players. But most of his rebounding production comes on the defensive end, where he's grabbing 4 per contest, with a defensive rebound percentage of nearly 12%. That ranks just above half the league, which is respectable for a point guard. But when it comes to offensive rebounding, that's not his role. He's only pulling down 0.6 offensive rebounds per game, which puts him lower than 84% of the league. That's exactly where Butler's presence matters. Instead of Curry having to fight for boards against bigger defenders, Butler handles that responsibility, allowing Curry to focus on leaking out in transition or spotting up for threes on second chance possessions. JK adds another layer to this rebounding puzzle. He's averaging 5 boards per game, ranking higher than 63% of players. And like Butler, he does a lot of his damage on the offensive glass. He's pulling down 1.4 offensive rebounds per contest, ranking in the top 65% of players in offensive rebounding percentage. That's key because the Warriors are no longer just relying on their bigs to crash the glass. With both Butler and JK attacking the boards, Golden State suddenly has 2 athletic wings who can battle for extra possessions without sacrificing their defensive positioning. Pods is another key rebounding piece that complements Butler's impact. He's averaging nearly 5 rebounds per game, ranking higher than 60% of players. Most of his work comes on the defensive end, where he's grabbing almost 4 per contest and ranking in the top 62% of players in defensive rebounding percentage. That's huge because it means the Warriors don't have to rely solely on their front court to clean up misses. With Butler, JK, and Pods all contributing on the glass, Golden State can maintain their fast-paced offense without losing control of the boards. Green, as always, is a unique presence when it comes to rebounding. He's pulling down nearly 6 rebounds per game, ranking higher than 69% of players. Almost 5 of those come on the defensive end, where he's securing stops and keeping possessions alive. His defensive rebounding percentage sits at 15.65%, which is higher than 70% of the league. But his offensive rebounding? That's where Butler's presence makes a difference. Green isn't crashing the offensive boards as much, pulling down just 1 offensive rebound per game and ranking lower than more than half the league in offensive rebounding percentage. That's not a bad thing. It just means his role is different. Instead of fighting for extra possessions, Green focuses on getting back on defense, allowing Butler and JK to handle the offensive glass. And then there's Looney, the Warriors' rebounding anchor. He's averaging nearly 7 rebounds per game, ranking higher than 96% of players, and he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire league. He's pulling down nearly 3 offensive boards per contest, ranking higher than 98% of players in offensive rebounding percent. His defensive rebounding is just as strong, with a 23.31% defensive rebounding percentage, ranking higher than 92% of players. That's exactly why Butler's presence is so valuable. Looney can dominate the glass inside, while Butler focuses on attacking from the wing. That balance makes Golden State a much more complete rebounding team, ensuring they don't lose possessions they would have in past years. Butler's ability to rebound isn't just about grabbing boards, it's about balance. Before he arrived, the Warriors relied almost entirely on Looney and Green to handle the glass. Now, they have multiple players capable of securing rebounds, creating second chance points, and controlling the tempo of the game. Butler's presence means Curry can stay focused on scoring instead of having to fight for rebound. It means JK gets cleaner, put-back opportunities. It means Pods and Green don't have to overextend themselves on the glass. And it means Looney finally has a wing player who can help him dominate the paint. Rebounding has always been one of Golden State's biggest concerns. In the past, teams have been able to exploit their lack of size by attacking the boards and creating second chance points. That's no longer as easy with Butler in the mix. His offensive rebounding is giving the Warriors extra possessions that they didn't have before, while his defensive rebounding is stabilizing their transition defense. He may not grab the most rebounds on the team, but the ones he gets are impactful, keeping the team in control and limiting unnecessary breakdown. The numbers prove just how valuable Butler is in this aspect of the game. He's securing offensive rebounds at a rate higher than more than 83% of players. He's pulling down defensive boards at a respectable rate, ranking in the middle of the pack. And most importantly, his presence is allowing everyone around him to be more effective. The Warriors are no longer relying on just 1 or 2 guys to win the rebounding battle. They now have a collective effort, with Butler leading the charge in key moments. Golden State's rebounding outlook is stronger than it's been in years, and Butler is a huge reason why. His presence on the offensive glass is creating extra chances for Curry, Hield, and Pods. His defensive rebounding is helping Green and Looney control possessions, and his overall rebounding ability is giving the team a toughness they've lacked in recent years. But then I want to look at the usage. Butler ranks higher than 72% of players in usage rate at 21.6%, meaning over 1/5 of Golden State's offensive plays end with Butler either taking a shot, passing for an assist, drawing a foul, or turning the ball over. That number makes him the perfect secondary option. Engaged, but not overbearing. Efficient, but not passive. The key to understanding Butler's role in this offense is looking at how his usage compares to the rest of the Warriors' key players. Curry, for example, ranks much higher in usage, sitting at 29% and ranking above 94% of players. That's expected. He's the engine of the Warriors' offense, taking 18 shots per game, getting to the free throw line nearly 4 times, dishing out over 6 assists, and turning the ball over nearly 3 times per contest. With such a high workload, it makes sense that his turnover rate is slightly higher. That's where Butler's presence makes a major impact. With him handling part of the offensive workload, Curry doesn't have to do everything. He can still be the team's primary scorer, but now he can take possessions off, move off the ball, and conserve energy, while Butler handles creation duties. Butler's ability to get to the free throw line nearly 7 times per game makes defenses react in ways that help Curry. Opponents can't just chase Curry around screens anymore. They have to respect Butler's ability to drive, draw contact, and create plays in the half court. Then there's JK, another high usage player, sitting at 28% and ranking higher than 91% of players. He's taking over 13 shots per game, getting to the free throw line more than 5 times, and averaging over 2 assists. But unlike Butler, who balances scoring with playmaking, JK's role is more about attacking the rim and finishing plays rather than facilitating for others. That's why Butler's presence benefits him so much. Before Butler arrived, JK was often forced to create more than he needed to, taking tough shots in isolation or driving into heavy traffic. Now, he has another player who can take some of that pressure off. Butler's ability to control possessions and make smart passes allows JK to focus on what he does best, using his athleticism to finish strong at the rim. With Butler on the floor, JK's shots are naturally going to get cleaner, and his efficiency will rise as a result. Hield, on the other hand, operates in a mid-usage role, ranking at 20.7%, which is higher than 67% of players. He's taking just over 10 shots per game, but barely gets to the free throw line, averaging less than 1 attempt per contest. That's a stark contrast to Butler, whose free throw rate is among the highest on the team. This difference in play style makes them a perfect match. Hield thrives in an offense where he can spot up and let others create for him. Butler thrives in an offense where he can draw defenders in and kick the ball out to open shooters. It's the perfect blend, with Butler driving and forcing help. Hield gets even better looks from deep. That's a major shift for Golden State, which has often relied on Curry's gravity to create open threes. Now Butler adds another element to the offense, making the Warriors even harder to guard. Pods' usage is lower than Butler's, ranking higher than only 46% of players at 16.9%. He's taking over 8 shots per game, getting to the line nearly 2 times, and averaging 3.5 assists. His possessions played per game sit at 52, meaning he's involved in the offense, but not a primary creator. That's why Butler's presence is so crucial. Pods isn't at a stage in his career where he should be running an offense full-time. Having Butler alongside him allows him to pick his spots, play within the flow of the game, and focus on making smart plays rather than forcing things. Butler's controlled, efficient style makes Pods' job easier, allowing him to play with confidence without feeling the burden of handling too much. Then there's Draymond Green, whose usage is among the lowest of the Warriors' key players, ranking higher than just 33% of the league at 15.4%. That makes sense. He's never been a high usage player, and his value has always come from facilitating rather than scoring. He's averaging nearly 6 assists per game, but also turning the ball over 2.5 times per contest, which is relatively high for someone who isn't taking many shots. That's where Butler helps. Green's best offensive role is as a connector, someone who moves the ball, sets screens, and makes quick decisions. But in previous seasons, he's been forced to handle the ball more than ideal, leading to unnecessary turnover. With Butler on the roster, Green doesn't have to be the second playmaker behind Curry anymore. Butler can take on that role, allowing Green to make smarter passes without feeling like he needs to create something every possession. Finally, there's Looney, who has the lowest usage rate of all, ranking higher than just 20% of players at 13.7%. He's taking just over 4 shots per game, getting to the free throw line a little over once, and averaging just under 2 assists. His possessions played per game sit at 33, meaning his involvement in the offense is minimal, but that's exactly what the Warriors want from him. Looney's role isn't going to change much with Butler on the team, but it does get easier. Butler's ability to create offense means Looney isn't forced into tough situations where he has to make plays himself. Instead, he can focus on setting screens, rolling to the basket, and grabbing offensive rebounds. When Butler attacks the rim, Looney is in position to clean up misses or catch drop-off passes for easy finishes. What makes Butler's usage rate so perfect for the Warriors is that it balances everything out. He's not a player who needs the ball every possession, but he's involved enough to make a difference. Before Butler arrived, Golden State relied almost entirely on Curry to create offense, with Green as the secondary playmaker. Now, they have a player who can take on playmaking duties without disrupting the natural flow of the team. Overall though, Jimmy Butler has only been with the Warriors for a handful of games, but his impact is already undeniable. Even in this small sample, it's clear that he's changed the way this team operates on both ends of the floor. Every game he's played has been on the road, and the team has been running on fumes, yet they've still managed to go 3-1 since his arrival. That's not a coincidence. The Warriors were gassed, dealing with the wear and tear of the season, yet Butler stepped in and immediately gave them stability, toughness, and control. And that's just the beginning. Once they get back home and get some energy back, they're going to take off. The biggest change has been composure. Before Butler got here, late game situations often felt chaotic. The Warriors had a habit of forcing bad shots, turning the ball over in crucial moments, or struggling to execute under pressure. But when Butler gets the ball down low, everything feels under control. He's not rushing. He's not forcing bad look. He's either getting fouled, getting a bucket, or making the right pass. That kind of decision making is exactly what the Warriors needed. They no longer have to rely on high difficulty three-pointers or frantic ball movement to create offense in crunch time. Now, they have a player who thrives in the paint, someone who can slow the game down, force the defense to react, and get quality looks when it matters most. And it's not just his scoring. His hustle has been game-changing. He's diving for loose balls, making timely double teams, and forcing turnovers in key moments. That charge he drew in the Mavericks game was as questionable as they come, but it showed exactly what he brings. He's willing to put his body on the line, make the tough plays, and give the team a chance to win And immediately after, he hit a layup that should have tied the game, proving once again that he's not afraid of the moment. If the Warriors pull that game out, they're sitting at 4-0 since the trade, and the narrative is even louder. His veteran presence is already felt throughout the locker room. The Warriors have a lot of strong personality, but Butler fits right in. He's got the confidence, toughness, and leadership to match Draymond Green, and that's not something every player can handle. He's not backing down from anyone, and that attitude is contagious. This team has needed another veteran who isn't afraid to speak up, push teammates, and set a tone both on and off the court. That's exactly what Butler does. He's bringing an edge that was missing, a sense of urgency and focus that's already making a difference. And then there's the defensive impact. He's not just making plays himself, he's making others better. JK in particular is going to benefit in a huge way. He's already one of the most athletic players on the team, but playing alongside Butler is going to take his game to another level. Butler is showing him how to stay disciplined, how to position himself on defense, and how to make smarter decisions on both ends of the floor. JK is going to improve just by being around Butler every day, and as the season goes on, that's going to become even more obvious. Right now, the Warriors are still adjusting. They're still tired, still getting used to playing with Butler, still figuring out the best way to utilize him. But even through all that, they've already improved. They've already gained a level of composure they didn't have before. They've already added a new dimension to their offense. They've already gotten tougher, smarter, and more balanced. And once they get back home, once they get their legs back under them, once they build more chemistry, that's when things are really going to get scary. Butler has changed the Warriors for the better. He's given them an inside presence they've been missing, a leader they needed, and a player who steps up in big moments. The vibes are different, the energy is different, and the results are already showing. This isn't just a short-term boost, this is a long-term shift. And if this is what they look like now, just imagine what's coming next. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.